Mr. Schwab, in 2 short years, the EU had to deal with the Ukraine war, the COVID-19 pandemic, and now an uncertain economic outlook. What should be the focus of a post-crisis EU?
Well, I think we should do everything as European Union to strengthen our internal cooperation and to strengthen, by doing this, also our outside defense. And I've written an article recently with colleagues about this, and I think that we have to do 4 things. First one is to make sure that within our internal market we really aim at more resilience and open borders for all workers and service providers so that we can keep the single market together and take the best wealth out of it for all citizens in Europe. Secondly, that we do a bit the same with energy, because in energy we still have not a perfect single market. We have energy production in the member states under national law that are brought together at European level, but that's not enough. And thirdly, we need urgently a European defense scheme so that we develop together European defense machinery that will be much cheaper and much more efficient. And the fourth element is that we use the digital revolution also to our European aims, and that we look for legislation that we are just about to do, making sure that the big tech companies pay a fair contribution also in Europe.
First of all, we need to defend our values, to protect Ukraine. We need to work through the sanctions against Russia, but the final goal is the peace. But the peace with justice. For this, it's important to defend the Ukrainian integrity. Second point is to protect our families and our companies, because it's important to use the sanctions against Russia. We will have problems. The sanctions are a difficult solution. For this, my idea is to have another recovery plan with Eurobonds for supporting the Ukrainians in Poland and Europe, the refugees. Second point, the reconstruction of Ukraine after this war, is because Ukraine is a candidate as full member of the European Union. For this, we need to invest more money. And then we need to work for energy and agriculture, at the same time to pave the way for the European defense strategy.
We need to concentrate in the green transmission, to invest more in the green economy, and for Europe to become digital. In addition, we have to have a common security and defense policy, and we have to consider seriously how to tackle the migration issue. So new challenges for Europe, new challenges for the member states. We have something to have in mind. It's not only to tackle today's crisis, but how to anticipate to the future crisis as well.
I think we have a big opportunity to rebuild European identity, to cross over this crisis, and also work together to go across this crisis. Because, for example, in our world, information is necessary to give a chance to the European citizen to believe in Europe and to change things after the crisis. Because, for example, pandemic was, of course, a big disaster and a big opportunity also.
And what challenges do you foresee for Europe in the years to come, and particularly what challenges, if you want to mention, in the media sector?
Of course, we have a big opportunity to have a digital vision. We are going across a new era of information, and for the citizen this is so important, because till now we have a vision of information, but now everything is changed. We know with a conflict in Ukraine how much important is photo, video, information, reporting from that country, and at the same time how was important to tell to the citizen how important was the vaccination. So now the information, to me, is the key to rebuild a new Europe.
Well, I think first that the two crises you mentioned, COVID on the one hand and Ukraine war in this, are not over, far from over, especially when it comes to the war in Ukraine. I think it's likely to last, unfortunately, and also the pandemic is not totally eradicated, I would say, so we have to remain vigilant. But indeed, we have also to anticipate the next crisis, so to say, because directly we have some consequences from the war in Ukraine. We know that we will face serious issues about food supply in the Mediterranean countries. We will face agricultural issues when it comes to fertilizers and things like this. We will face energy problem. So not speaking about the economical crisis coming, we have direct consequences from the war in Ukraine that have not been, I would say, fully addressed yet, because they will come. It's in the near future. So this is the most urgent things on which we should focus, trying to prevent and to be as, I would say, efficient as possible to tackle this. In the longer term, midterm, we already see kind of economical problems due to inflation, interest rates, so a totally new situation compared to the one we used to live for in decades. This is also the responsibility of the European institution to anticipate this. It will require new thinking, I think, because we cannot say, on the one hand, we have to come back to very orthodox rules, I would say, because this situation we have not faced in a recent past. And on the other hand, there is a temptation from some countries and government to say, okay, just open the door for more debts and for more public spendings, and it will solve the issue. I think this is not an option either. So it will require a lot of agility from the leadership in Europe, a lot of cohesion, because we clearly see that a decision taken by one can impact the other one. So more solidarity is needed, more common thinking is needed. It will not be easy. We're entering very troubled waters. We have faced over the last 3 years two unexpected crises. The one which is coming is probably more, I would say, easy to anticipate, at least in its outlook, because we know that inflation is already there. We know that what inflation does provoke. So it's less of a surprise, but still it's a huge challenge.
Well, I guess the starting point is to say that the EU is an eternal crisis management organization. It usually goes through 3 phases. First you have a crisis, second you have chaos, and third you have a suboptimal solution. So I guess we've now been hit with really a double whammy. The first one was COVID and now the war. And I think now the focus should be on basically economic recovery. I'm afraid that this war solidarity in Europe is going to wane away. And I think a lot of our political leadership basically needs to communicate the price of war and the price of peace, which is going to be higher food prices, higher energy prices, lower growth, inflation, which then means stagflation, which basically means a reduction in European welfare, unfortunately.
Yeah, your observation is correct. So many things happened. We have had a financial crisis, Euro crisis, Brexit, COVID-19, now Ukraine, so it's all there. The first lesson is that we need each other in Europe, that's very clear. And I must say I'm happy with the unity we can see now regarding Ukraine, for example, but much more is on the agenda. We talk about what's the role of Europe worldwide. I'm a big defender of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. I think Europe can play a leading role. You can see worldwide a discussion on the future of market economies, and that's a better relation between ethics and economy. If we talk about the values of the EPP, we can make the difference. I'm convinced about that. It's about Rhinelandic thinking, the concept of social market economy. And we noticed also yesterday, it's all about values in Europe. I was happy with the remarks that has been made yesterday and today, because when we talk about our future, this is really values oriented. And you can see it here in Rotterdam at the EPP Congress.
Well, I think what people are very concerned about is their security now and in the future. And you see the implications of having a situation in Europe where we don't have peace. And we should recognize that we need more Europe, because Europe since the Second World War has been the most successful peace project in the world, and therefore the lessons that we can learn today is from the past, where we can see that if we build a strong Europe, we will build a strong security for our citizens.